We have taken over the camera again.
Chad Blackwelder has cooked with some great chefs over the past few months, and they've provided some great tips for cooking.
For our final episode of 2021, we decided to review and rank our top 12 tips.
Enjoy these top 12 tips and let us know in the comments which are your favorites.
If you have leftover mushrooms, wild mushrooms that you're not using, if you can just put them in a paper bag in your refrigerator, the paper bag will absorb any moisture that comes off of them, and you won't have to, they won't go bad, they'll last a little bit longer.
Make sure your pan is covered with oil, not filled with oil. I think that's a good discrepancy to let people know. When I have some people starting off in the kitchen, letting them know, make sure it's like, you have your base filled. I've seen them fill it up with 2 inches of oil, thinking that's what we wanted.
Yeah, we're not frying.
No, not frying, just getting a nice sear.
So there's the difference. So this is an underripe filled tomato, right? Still firm, green. This is this guy's called a green zebra. It's a type of heirloom tomato. It's fully ripe. You can see it's kind of yielding to my touch a little bit.
So again, I'm just putting weight on the burger, really just trying to get a little bit of fat rendered off of it, as well as getting as much of the meat cooking as possible.
And I know a lot of people say don't press on your burgers, but I think when you're on this first side, you can press and you're not going to press the juices out. Once you flip it over, you really don't want to press it that much.
One thing with cabbage, there's the heart on the inside. You want to cut that out. So I take my knife and then just kind of at an angle cut that out, because that doesn't taste very good.
These guys are in season, so they taste great. If they were out of season and they got a little tart on you, you could add a little bit of sugar or powdered sugar to macerate the berries to add a little bit of extra sweetness.
What we usually do at the restaurant, we'll just put it in our hand and just throw it back and forth. What this does is it gets the meat kind of sticking together a little bit more, as opposed to when you roll it, you can't really get the meat compact. So as you can see, you start seeing it compact.
It's almost like those proteins starting to bind just in this, before it even starts to cook.
And then we got our patty there.
Another way is to take a wooden skewer and put it in there, and it's actually sizzling, like little air bubbles are coming off of it, so you're ready to go. So I'm gonna turn this off just for a few minutes.
That's just how my grandma taught me. She with a wooden spoon.
Yeah.
She'd throw the wooden spoon in there, and she said once it floats or you see the bubbles, she's like, your oil is ready to fry.
That's it. Anytime you're using a tomato, season your tomatoes. I always tell people if they're not doing that, they're missing out on a flavor opportunity. So when you season, you want to season kind of high up, get even distribution. This is just some coarse kosher salt. There's a million different salts out there, whichever one you like best. There's smoked salts, there's bourbon smoked salts, and sea salts, and mine salts, and all kinds of stuff. So another thing I think is really important is fresh black pepper. I like using black and white together.
Yeah.
I think it's nice. The whites are a little more fragrant. A dried pink peppercorn is good in this mix also.
Always a nice thing to have a mix of things.
Yeah, I agree.
The same flavor profile, but just different versions of that.
Something I learned as a cooking technique, you want to kind of hold your opposite hand like a claw. And so with
I'm sure you have sliced your knuckles.
you don't want to keep your thumb out, right? Give it the old chop, right? So if you keep your hands kind of in a claw motion and let the side of the knife run against your finger, it's, I won't say impossible, but it's a lot harder to cut yourself.
Yeah.
And the reason I love duck eggs for this recipe is they have huge yolks. So it's a bigger egg than a chicken egg. And if you look at it, it almost looks iridescent, like you can see through it. It's duck eggs are always white, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Do you know? And we're gonna tap it on the counter. Don't tap it on the side of the bowl, tap it on the counter. And then look at this yolk. They're huge. So the yolk has more fat, it's richer tasting, and that's gonna add more flavor to your breading. I'm actually gonna do 3 of these. Very little white in a duck egg. So they're great for baking. The key is gonna be to put them on a wire rack, not a paper towel. Now air circulates around it and all that has a chance to dry.
It kind of combines together. It's a great trick for making a really crispy fried chicken is bread it and let it set at room temp on a rack for like 10 or 15 minutes. As a piece of meat is cooking, the heat is heating up all the juices on the inside and they're running around like crazy. So if you take that steak and cut it while all those juices are still running around, all those juices are going to be on your cutting board and not in the burger or the piece of meat. And have something to rest it on, because when you put it right down on something, it keeps cooking. Then you've got that big puddle of juice that should be in the meat also. So make sure you can set it where air can get around it.
Yep.
Very, very important.
Yeah, everything cooks till it's cold.
Those were all some great tips. Zach, which one was your favorite?
So my favorite came from Heidi Bellato with the duck eggs and cracking the eggs on a flat surface. Christina, what was your favorite?
I liked William's reminder to curl your fingers while cutting up produce. Beth, what about you?
I really like Chad's reminder to season the tomatoes for optimum flavor. Caitlin?
My favorite was from Kevin talking about placing your meats on a wire rack to cool.
Nice. These are all great tips that we enjoyed. Thanks for cooking with us this year. We're excited for next year and hope you'll join us.